How does a 40-year-old mother of 6 go to an adult slumber party and end up dead in the wee hours of the morning with a whole house full of people and nobody sees anything? That's what we're going to talk about today. TAMLA HORSFORD. Let's go back to the beginning. TAMLA HORSFORD is from St. Vincent. She's from the islands, a Vincentian woman. At 11 years old, her family took her to the United States. While she was in the United States, she met her husband, Lee. Lee already had a daughter when TAMLA met him, but TAMLA took his daughter in like it was her own. She's a Libra. That was her sign. And you know, Libras, they're fun-loving. They just get along with everybody. So she took that little girl under her wing, and that little girl even called her mom. Now, fast forward a few years. Lee and TAMLA, we're going to call her Tam because that's what she was affectionately referred as, Tam. They had children of their own, 5 boys. Now, they lived in Georgia. And the place that they lived at in Georgia was known for racism. Serious, deep-seated racism. For many years, actually at one time, they even had a rally to get rid of any black people in the town. I couldn't imagine. TAMLA was black. Now, TAMLA, she was the type of mom, stay-at-home mom, that cared for her children so deeply that she was the type of mom also that would go to the football games and she would root her children on from the sidelines with a bullhorn, and she would tell them, keep on going, do your thing. And now, as she was at these games, she met other moms. One of the moms' name was Jean. Now, Jean met her in August. And they would talk at the games, they'd hang out. Eventually, Jean really liked TAMLA. So she said, you know, why don't you come to my house for Halloween? Bring your sons. I'm having a pumpkin carving event. I would love for you to come and join in. And TAMLA was like, sure, why not? That was October 31st, 2018. Fast forward, they had such a good time that Jean said, hey, I'm having a party next week, a slumber party for my 45th birthday. I would love for you to come and join me. So she accepted. Now, her friend, Jean's friend Stacy was putting this party together, and it was happening at Jean's house. A slumber party, and there was women there that were going to be sleeping all night and chilling out. Now, before the party started, she said to her husband, Lee, I don't feel like going to the party. But because she promised, and you know, it was only one night, it's not like it's a 7-day vacation with strangers that she doesn't know, she thought, I'll just go. She got her onesie pajamas, packed it in her overnight bag, and went to Jean's house. When she got into the house, she met all the women, and she was already having a good time. She was having such a good time that she was the first one to put her pajamas on. And she thought, you know what? I'm going to make the best of it. And she did. She pulled out a bottle of tequila, and she said, happy birthday, Jean. This is for you. This is tequila straight from Mexico. Jean said, oh, I don't really like tequila at all, but you guys can all drink it. Now, some people are saying Jean was very inconsiderate. She should have taken the bottle and put it on the counter and said, thank you very much for the birthday gift. But she was being honest. Instead of hoarding a bottle that she doesn't want to drink, she said, you guys drink it. She shared her birthday gift. Some of the ladies had a couple of shots, but they weren't really into it. They were more vodka drinkers. Actually, they were such vodka drinkers that sometimes they would even drink vodka at the football games of their children. But we're no judgment channel here. We're not judging, right? So in any case, TAMLA decides that she's going to drink, and she's going to drink the tequila with Mountain Dew. and she's enjoying herself. Now, it was supposed to be all females at the party, but there were 2 men there. One of the men was named Jose. He worked with the police department. He was a young boyfriend of the birthday girl. Jean was turning 45. Her boyfriend, 20 years younger than her. Again, no judgments. Love sometimes doesn't know an age. But him and his buddy stayed downstairs. Now, his buddy was the husband of Stacy. Stacy is the friend of Jean, and she's the one who put all the party together. So you have the 2 men downstairs in the entertainment area. They're watching a football game. All the ladies are upstairs. Now, what happens, Tamla decides that she's the only cigarette smoker. So she decides that she's going to go out on the deck. Every time she went out on the deck to smoke a cigarette on the balcony deck, someone would go out with her and they would chit-chat, and she was chatty. Everyone said that she was not intoxicated. She was very friendly. Now, one time she went out on the deck and she had a joint. And she started to smoke. A couple of the other ladies had tokes as well. Jean caught wind of it, and she went out on the deck and she said, hey, you can't smoke that here at my house because Jose's here and he can't be around that. He works for the police. And Tamla, she obliged. She felt so bad. She put the joint out and she said, I'm so sorry. I won't do it again. And that was it. Now, this is the thing. The party went on. Halftime came up for the football game. The boys, they went upstairs to grab something to eat. Jean had made gumbo for everybody at the party. The boys are eating, and they decide that they're just going to continue to play with the girls. They're not going to go down and watch the game. Their team was losing anyway. So they start playing cards, and they start enjoying, adult games, drinking more. And at this time, Tamla decides that she's going to call her husband and her boys to say goodnight. She calls them, FaceTimes them. She says goodnight to them. Everyone else in the background is saying goodnight to them. It just seems like a very pleasant night. Her husband is like, okay, she's happy, she's good. Not only that, she makes another call, and she calls her daughter. And this was a very special call because her daughter is pregnant at the time. And this was going to be the first grandchild for Lee and Tamla. So she speaks to her and everything's great. Now, fast forward, everyone starts going to sleep. Everyone's getting tired. Some people have to wake up very early in the morning and go to work. Imagine, they're partying and they're like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm gonna crash now. So everyone is crashing. This is a huge house. What happens? There's 2 people left in the kitchen upstairs. Now, this is where it gets shady. And I don't trust Jose. I'm not placing fingers on anybody, so don't get me wrong. I'm just giving what my thoughts are. So now there's Bridget left awake, and Bridget is talking to Tamla. Tamla is eating a bowl of gumbo. It's the end of the night. Drinking has stopped. Everyone's going to bed. You like to have a nice bite to eat before you go to sleep after a good drink. And Bridget's like, I'm going home. I'm going home. And earlier during the night, Tamla wanted to leave as well. But everyone told her stay because she drove to the party and she would have had to drive herself home. And they're like, no, you had some drinks. It's safer to stay. So she decided to stay. Not only did she not want to go to the party, but as she was at the party, she wanted to leave and sleep at her own house. But she still stayed. So now Bridget says to Tamla, well, I'm going home because my husband's going to come get me. Bridget, she suffers from anxiety. She has a condition with anxiety. She doesn't like to sleep out at people's houses. She always feels like she has to sleep with one eye open, apparently. Now, she takes Xanax for this anxiety. It's also alleged during this case that she gave Xanax to some of the other ladies. Now, this is very important. During her interview, she told the police that she didn't give Xanax to Tamla. She's like, oh, I didn't give any Xanax to Tamla, which was really, really strange. And I mean, why are you volunteering that information? Nobody asked you about that. But hold on to that. Put a pin in that, because we're going to get back to that. Now, Bridget leaves at 1:47. She says her husband picked her up, and when her husband picked her up, she said Tamla was at the front door, and gave her a hug goodbye, told her that she loved her, she really enjoyed meeting her, blah, 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 rah, rah, rah. But the husband of Bridget said he didn't see Tamla, but it could be that he was sitting in the car and he wasn't really looking in the doorway, and maybe Tamla didn't go outside all the way, maybe she was inside the foyer, we don't know. But in any case, this is what is being alleged. Bridget said last time she saw Tamla gave her a hug and said, you are such a good person, I enjoy you, I love you, and everything. And she told her, she said, after I finish my gumbo, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna have my last cigarette. And that was it. So now she walks her out the front door, apparently. Now, what happened at 1:49, 2 minutes later, the back door opens. The back door is on the lower ground. The back door opens at 1:49, 2 minutes after Bridget leaves. That must have been, so it's being alleged, that it was Tamla going out to smoke her last cigarette. The door closes at 1:50. Now, did she go out the door at 1:49 and say, oh my gosh, my cigarette, it's upstairs? And then she went upstairs to get her cigarette. Now, this is where it gets shady for me, and this is where I'm going to tell you what I feel happened. I feel that somebody did something, because some of the reports say that it was an accident, which I'm going to get to, and some of the reports say it was a murder, but it cannot be proven. I'm going to go to the murder side, okay? Not the accident side. So I'm thinking she went upstairs to go get her cigarette, and something happened. Somebody pushed her over. And then what happened? They saw that she wasn't dead, so they ran back downstairs and they opened up the back door. At 1:57, the door opened up. And then what did they do? They beat her down because she wasn't dead when she fell from the second story balcony. This is what I'm thinking. Now, at 1:57, when the door opened back up, it never closed again. How do we know this? Because Jean gets notifications to her cell phone when the doors open. All right, just put a pin in that. That's just what I'm thinking. Now let's get back to the investigation. At 4 o'clock in the morning, one guest leaves. Then at 7:45 in the morning, another guest leaves. 8:30 in the morning, two guests leave. 8:45, the woman who lives downstairs, who is the aunt of Jean, who lives downstairs facing the backyard, goes into the kitchen and she's getting prepared for her day, and she looks outside and she sees a body face down in the grass. She knew it was Tamla because Tamla was the only one wearing the white onesie. So she said that she saw Tamla and she knew it wasn't good, so she got down on her hands and knees and she prayed. Well, hey, some people, they do that. Let's not judge her. It just sounds a little foggy. She runs upstairs to Jean's room to wake up Jean and Jose. Then there's no answer. She runs back downstairs to look at the body to make sure that, okay, yeah, this is not anything good right here. This does not look right. And she remembers how the body looked kind of like in a weird position. She ran back upstairs again, and this time she knocked harder on the door. Over and over again. Finally, they answered the door. And she said, Jose, I need to speak to you right away, because Jose works for the police. Jose, the girl, the island girl, she's downstairs, face down in the grass, and she doesn't look alive. So Jose, being in the police department, he didn't run downstairs right away, which is very strange. Instead, he ran to the deck to look over the deck at the body. Very strange. But then, once he sees the body, he decides that he's going to grab the cigarette and also the lighter that was there and place it aside and put it on the fire pit. And then he went downstairs. Jean called 911 and he spoke on the phone to the 911 operator. The 911 operator knew him. It sounded like they knew each other. And the operator asked, is this person dead? He touches the leg and he says yes. Now, don't you think that it would have been better for him to go and touch right here, the pulse, or anywhere else on the body? You don't touch a leg. Yeah, okay, maybe she had rigor mortis that set in by that time. But still, a police officer is trained to do the proper protocol. And why, after he sees the body on the ground, is he moving evidence? He knows that the only person who smoked in that house that night was Tamla. It had to be her cigarette. Now, again, I feel that she went out back at 1:49 after she said goodbye to Bridget, realized that her cigarette was upstairs, went upstairs, and never returned back downstairs. I believe something happened. And people think that she was so drunk that she fell over the railing because she was so drunk. Her husband, Lee, says, his wife is an island woman from St. Vincent and she can drink. And not only that, she can put back a lot of drinks and still dance in 6-inch heels. So he could not think for the life of him that she would be so clumsy to fall over a railing and fall to the ground. 2 stories. And why did she have all of these blunt injuries to her that didn't make sense for a simple fall? She had a lot of injuries. We're going to watch this video right here on the autopsy.
A death investigation is like a puzzle.
This can't be real.
2 law enforcement agencies investigated piece by piece the death of Tamla HORSFORD. Both concluded she got so drunk at a party she fell from a balcony after everyone else had gone to sleep.
We had a girls' night. We were all just drinking and we played cards against humanity.
But her family insists that narrative doesn't solve the puzzle.
You get all this information and you go, wait, nothing makes sense here.
Ralph Fernandez, the attorney for Tamla's husband, says he's gone through the evidence, every interview, document, and scene photo. So has Tamla's father and friends like Michelle Graves.
Why not just let this go? I cannot let this go because I know that what they said did not happen to her.
So we went through it all as well to take you inside the investigation to understand why the family remains convinced police are still missing pieces to this puzzle.
I know this was a homicide. The problem is I can't pin it on anybody because I don't have a badge and I don't have a gun.
We also got access to something that is not in the GBI's report. For the first time, the family is making their independent autopsy public. In it, Dr. Adele Shaker says the dislocated wrist mentioned in the GBI's report is actually a compound fracture. And the fracture in her spine isn't a fracture at all. And to him, what is most important is what the GBI's medical examiner did not find.
There is no evidence of any significant injuries to the skull bones.
In Dr. Shaker's report, he says the lack of broken bones in Tamla's skull make him skeptical that she died falling from the 2nd story of a building. Now, at first, deputies on the scene seemed to agree.
They showed us the mulch and the rocks in the mulch and showed where, she tripped and fell over this little garden border.
From the homeowner to the detectives, there are statements pushing back against the idea Tamla fell from the porch.
If you went to brace yourself with your left hand, there ain't nothing there to brace yourself with. Yeah. And you spin, you know what I'm saying?
And even more unusual, how the homeowner and her boyfriend found Tamla's arms.
It's the weirdest thing. She was face down, but like her arms were down, like she just face planted is the best way I can describe it.
So her arms were like by her side?
Yeah, they were by her side, palms up.
It's a question we heard several times in the investigation because when you look at the scene photos, Tamla's left arm is actually off to the side, bent, her fingers curled under.
Did you ever touch her arm? No. Okay. Did you see anybody touch her? No. Other than you? No.
To this day, police can't explain the discrepancies, at least not in a way that makes sense to the family. They say despite the yellow crime scene tape, Tamla's death was never treated like a crime.
Maybe she fell off the balcony, but she's stiff.
Okay, is she breathing?
I don't know if she's face down.
Forsyth County deputies called everyone that attended the sleepover back to the house for questioning. But it wasn't until the GBI got involved 2 years later that police searched for evidence on their phones. By that time, 2 people had new ones, and text messages and pictures from other phones were gone.
But like an ambulance didn't come. We just saw her come out in a body bag.
No one tried to roll Tamla over to render CPR, not even police, who called off EMS.
There was no effort whatsoever done to try to save this woman's life.
The only one we know who touched Tamla's body was the homeowner's boyfriend. He declared her dead after touching her leg.
I have one deputy that's about to pull into your subdivision. Then the destination is on your right.
Tamla's family believes race also played a role. The only black woman at the party in a county with few black people. The lead investigator on the case, Michael Christian, is accused of calling Tamla the porch lady and making derogatory racial remarks during the investigation.
I mean, that's horrific. In the racist, bigoted, sarcastic, funny way of this sick son of
On top of that, some of the responding officers knew the people at the party. The man on that 911 call was a former probation officer who, at the time, worked in the county's court system. And another woman worked with an officer's wife.
I'm sure you're good because her boss is my wife. Oh, well, then you're more than good.
In the recordings, we heard police tell the family that when the investigation is complete, they can access all of the records and the pieces will finally fit. But they don't.
Legally, this case is just beginning as far as I'm concerned.
I haven't been able to grieve her because I've been trying to fight for her justice for 3 years.
I have to know the truth.
So, you hear that? Something sounds very, very fishy. This guy, Jose, has been spoken about too much throughout the night. He wasn't even supposed to be downstairs. He was supposed to be out of the house. It was a woman's sleepover. Not only that, no one could smoke weed because of him. Not only that, he's the first one to be called. He's the one that moves the cigarette. Come on. Don't move the cigarette. Tamla is downstairs. Her body looks dead. That is her cigarette. Leave it alone. He said it's because he has OCD and the cigarette and the lighter was in his way. However, later on during the case, he was caught digging into some files trying to delete them apparently. Isn't that kind of strange? And he was looking into the files at a woman's name by the name of Michelle. Michelle is the best friend of Tamla, who was not at the party that night. And Michelle was really talking against this whole entire crowd, saying something is fishy, it doesn't make sense. And they fired him because he shouldn't have been looking in those files. Now, when the police did show up, I know I'm going back and forth here, but when the police did show up and they saw the body on the ground, they looked up at the balcony and they said, oh, this was accidental. They ruled it immediately accidental. immediately. And then they went to her house, knocked on her door. Her husband was using the washroom at the time, so his son answered the door. The son went back to Lee and said, "Dad, the police are at the door." So Lee went back to the front door and he's like, "Hey, like, what's up?" And the police said, "Are you Lee?" Lee's like, "What is this regarding? What is this regarding? Are you Lee?" And he said, "You know what? Tell me what this is regarding first. Are you Lee?" And he said, "As a matter of fact, my name's Leandro. What is this?" And they said, "Your wife had an accident and she's deceased." That's what they said to him, just like that. No compassion. At first, he's like, "Oh my gosh, she must have had a car accident." And they're like, "No, she fell from a balcony and died." He knew at that moment that something was fishy, something was not right. Immediately, he knew that his wife would not fall off a balcony. You know what I'm saying? So, what did she do? Did she go upstairs on the top? Maybe she went upstairs to finish that joint that she was smoking earlier. Everyone's in bed now, you know? Everyone's sleeping. Nobody's going to smell it. She's outside on the balcony. Maybe she decided to smoke a little bit before she was going to light her cigarette. Did Jose see her and get angry because he works for the police? We don't know. We don't know. This looks like a murder, but we just can't prove it. Nothing makes sense. Her injuries don't make sense. Absolutely nothing. Because this happened November 4th, 2018. 2020, they opened the case back up. Obviously, there were some reasons to do that. And what happened when they opened it back up? The evidence, a lot of it was gone. The people who were involved, some of them moved away. They got new cell phones. Their memory was not as sharp, you know, a night of drinking, a night of just having a good time. And after a couple of years, you lose that memory, the precise memory of really what happened. So it was closed once again. And when it was closed once again, it was an accidental death. I don't believe it was an accidental death. I don't believe that she fell down the stairs. I don't believe that she fell over the railing. I don't believe that she tripped. You know, there are a lot of questions that are not being answered. And for all we know, this is still an unsolved murder. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And when you check out the case, let us know in the comments below if you found anything that was very interesting. Guys, thank you so much for watching. This is Friday Fairfax Files. I'll see you next week. Please be safe out there. Rest in peace, Tamla. God bless the family. My deepest condolences to you, Lee, and the 6 children, and also the grandchild. God bless.